This post is an expanded introduction to the Manual of Civil Aviation Medicine for the proposed CARAC Part IV working group to include aviation licensing as well as system safety and the ATAC with the Medical Association as well. So looking at the ICAO manual, we see designated states shall give licensed practitioners who shall have received training in aviation medicine and receive fresh training to include practical knowledge and experience as well as simulator experience. And that's a segue through the aerospace medicine capability as well, with the lack of flight surgeon presence on the flight line. And from D&D's leading the institution, responses to authority and influence, talks about role contracts and the subordinate chain, etc. So that's a conflict with the St. Albert Crown and their meds as directed, and we're trying to resolve this through D&D's science and technology sector with an eye on human systems integration for the CAMI's training, learning, and rehearsal and supporting mission operations. So we can segue through the SDK and the manual to provide some practical knowledge of flight ops using Microsoft Flight Sim technologies, and showing here the EC120 repaint. And what we have to support this project is an Ops Centre at the Alberta Museum. And you can see here the server farm we're using to stage SimConnect as a virtual STARS air ambulance to confer some practical knowledge to the aeromedical practitioners, including a segue to virtual to reality with the RCMP EC120 as shown here. And we can blur through the photograph into the simulated world and really draw eyes onto the role of the aircraft captain, which is weight and balance, mission planning, weather forecasting, fuel availability, that sort of thing. And put eyes in the cockpit, in the passenger station, and looking out at the mission in progress. So we have a series of scenery files we have staged, showing here the carrier off the coast of Comox in a life imitating art segue known as Top Gumball for the sake of the show. And this is part of the larger object model we've put together to support the FSX and aeromedical mission planning. And SimConnect allows for posting of real-world spatial information off the GPS dongle. And shown here at the St. Albert Air Park, we have a prop, and what this allows us to do is designate a point on the ground. Again, drawing eyes onto air ops, but the embedded navigation calculations with eyes locked onto the south end of the field here. So our prop is on the ground just south of the air park, and you can see pitching and yawing the helicopter keeps the eyes on, and as we pick up speed and fly past the airfield, the eyes remain locked onto the prop on the ground. So just a demo for the systems integration in play through SimConnect. And back to the flight safety issues with aerospace medicine incapable or support of flight safety. We have the Air Cadet Glider Ops Manual, and you can see the pilot is responsible for ensuring he has proper medical advice when health duties coincide with flight ops duties. And that's a segue through this OTC Meds article, and again in collision with the rather broad any meds as directed. And that's the point of the discussion items for the CARAC. So this is the CARAC process workflow, and the units can be broken out into meds as directed, where we need the precise nature, time frame, and follow-up to match with the Cadet Glider Manual and this article on safety comment. So there's certainly far more prescriptions out on the street than there are CAMIs, and this InstiMeds draws on to the fact that it's profitable, but perhaps not that safety-oriented. So we'll just phase out through Health Canada's mandate and the notification of compliance with conditions, and it asks how many of these interventions like bupropion and whatnot have ever been given a flight ops approval. Perhaps 90% of the database is prohibited, and this is something the CAMI crowd would know. And the air crews, of course, are relying on aeromedical expertise to keep them out of trouble. So, just to round it out, we've got a database control head here with all of Health Canada's DINs, and what we want to do is log the precise nature of the restriction, time frame, follow up for appearance before a CAMI, the nature of the restriction, start date, end date, the CAMI's rationale, and matched against the ICAO manual. Of course, that would take the psychiatrist out of the game if they don't have prior knowledge of aerospace medicine, so wouldn't be accredited by definition. And then all the Dropbox down here has the list of interventions, and we'll note Dr. Curtis Wood's suggested intervention with a lookup list for potential side effects and complications, and a confirmation of if this is really a good idea. And just to round out the post, certificate analysis for any TAC-D applicant or Queen's Bench Civil, and that is something that would look rather like this for any justice of the bench.